Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel, welcome to another GT Sport Daily race review. This week's race is Group 4 at Circuit de Catalunya GP layout in Barcelona, and I'm just trying to bring something a little bit different from the usual. Probably, maybe a little bit fed up of seeing the WRX this week, so a couple of races here for you, one in the Ferrari, one in the Porsche. 10 laps of Circuit de Catalunya to get round, just the hard tyres available, very low tyre and fuel multipliers, but the crucial thing is that mandatory pit stop where you make the pit stop, don't change the tyres, and yeah, try and time that pit stop to kind of best suit you to make sure you're kind of in clean air and not losing too much time with fighting, etc. So we're on the Womble Sheriff account, we're down in P15, we're in the Porsche Cayman for the first race here. I had no idea how this car was going to perform at this track, but it's a handling car, it's a handling circuit, and the Cayman does tend to handle most tracks fairly well. So as we said, starting down in P15, once again, always seems to be the same when we're on the Womble Sheriff account. We've got Hellsfire starting in front of us. Obviously this is Monday evening, he's obviously streaming at this time as well, but we always seem to be behind him whenever we kind of do any of these race reviews. He's in the McLaren 650S. That is one thing I do quite like about the US server. You see a lot more car variety. I was watching some of the streams on Monday night, and yeah, everybody's just in the WRX with a couple of outliers out there like the Megane Trophy, which I'm not a fan of. Don't think it should be in Group 4. To be perfectly honest with you, Group 4 is a total mess anyway in terms of category. There's at least 3 categories that could be made out of the Group 4 cars, but yeah, as I said, just nice to see some different cars on the track, and that's definitely one of the things I like about the US server. So lap 1 underway here, Porsche Cayman, let's see what we can do. Now, we're going to make our first position up here. It seems to be a little bit of a abrasive move, I think it might be fair to say, it made on that WRX there, but that does allow us to move up one position. As we come to the end of lap number 1 here, we've got the Vortex driver in the Alfa Romeo, who seems to who was going to pit, then changes their mind at the very last second, and a 1 lap later they do the exact same thing again. So indecision, definitely a problem for the Vortex driver. He ends up taking a very strange line through the last corner. He runs wide, all 4 wheels over the red and white curb, and picks up a half-second penalty for his troubles. So that's not really worked out for him. Now we were going to go for the overtake here, but with that driver now sitting on a penalty, there was really no point. We'll just wait till the penalty gate to make that move, but something else was about to intervene to kind of make that decision for us. We've got a WRX going wide, slides across the circuit, which is a good effort in a 4-wheel drive car, hits the Alfa Romeo, makes them very slow down here towards turn 5, and we make the move up the inside as we should. So working out quite nicely for us because we're now ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver. They've got that half-second penalty to serve. That should allow us to gap them and hopefully then pull away. So that is us up into P7 now. As we jump forward here to lap number 4, around about a lap later, we are closing in on the TCR driver. Now I think that's Tisney's new community racing team. That's the first time I've seen that tag on any driver. As we come to the fast right-hander here that I can't quite remember the name of, we're going to get a much better run out of this corner than the TCR driver in the slipstream. We're not going to defend it, we're going to move down the inside, and we actually complete a fairly simple pass. Now, absolutely battering the rev limiter here, I think. I'm listening in silence, but I do remember we were all over the rev limiter there whenever we went down into first gear. Yeah, this car, one of the tricky things I found when driving it was kind of trying to get used to the downshifts, because I'm probably quite bad for downshifting too quickly, and it gets really exacerbated in this car, and it was something I was kind of having to learn as the race was going on. Up into P5 though, and moving forward here to lap number 6, we're slowly catching the group of cars in front, but we're going to pit at the end of this lap because we're coming under pressure from the Vortex driver in the Alfa Romeo. The grip that car seems to have in the corners, particularly in the middle sector, was absolutely mental, so I thought I'd probably lose less time making the pit stop, hopefully come out in some clean air rather than trying to defend from the Alfa Romeo driver. And as we look behind us, as we come down the pit lane, staying within the white line of course, we get a little bit of a lucky break, to be honest with you, because we came out just 2 tenths ahead of Zigzag, and that was absolutely crucial because, as it turns out, we were actually quite a bit quicker than that driver, and yeah, we didn't lose any time, so absolutely vital to our race. And as we jump forward here to lap number 9, you can see all the cars that have still to make their pit stop are in the pit lane, and this is essentially where we get the big reveal, where are we going to finish, and it looks pretty promising as we go by the pit lane. There's nobody to our right hand side, and we're up into P3, and that is not a bad result as long as we bring it home from here, given where we started. And overall, the Porsche actually performed really nicely indeed. That last lap we did there, a 53.6. We finished with a 53.9, but a 53.6 in my hands for the Porsche. Not too shabby at all. I'd love to see what some of the faster guys out there could do. I certainly think this car's capable of 52s in the right hands. But yeah, P3 we bring home from a P15 start. Not too shabby at all for the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport. Let's take a little bit of a look at the highlights of this one, kind of getting top of some of the incidents that happened. So I thought the Alpha had actually pushed this Subaru out the way, but it turns out the Subaru just actually went wide and actually lifted off the throttle here as we overtook them down towards turn number 6, so that was nice. We're going to see the TCR driver here kind of get the grass, speed across the track and hit the Alfa Romeo, allowing us to put the move down the inside here. Very tidy move indeed, get it stopped nicely on the apex, clean as a whistle. And a little bit later on, this was the move on the other TCR driver, down in towards the tight hairpin at the end of the second sector. Again, they did defend, they left the space, that was a very compliant Subaru WRX there, but clean as a whistle again. And yeah, there was a bit of an incident that went on behind me. I did notice at the end of the race that the two drivers behind me ended up awful far behind, and yeah, I did have a wee look back to see what happened, and well, I guess handbags might be the best way to put it. So the 86 is going to go for the move on the WRX here down into the hairpin, and the WRX, to be fair, does not give them any space whatsoever. It gets a little bit messy through the next couple of corners, but the Toyota 86 is going to come out on top here, and the kind of WRX is going to look for big time revenge down into the chicane. We're going to make a fair old clunk here with Cyrus, and but they end up spinning off themselves. But as we move on to Cyrus's car, you're going to see, despite the fact he got spun round, he managed to bring the car home in 4th place. Oh, a little bit messy indeed. But let's move on to race number 2. We're down in P14 here. We're in the Ferrari 458 Italia for this one. A couple of familiar names on the grid as well. We've got Mohammed in P11. We've got Wind somewhere towards the back of the grid as well. However, unfortunately for Mohammed indeed, there was 4 disconnections before the race got underway. That moved us up into P10. Mohammed, unfortunately, one of those drivers. So only 16 drivers starting this one as we head down towards turn number 1 in the Ferrari. So this is obviously the car we used within the strategy guide, so fairly familiar with how the Ferrari is going to handle this track. Fairly confident we can move forward from this position. Again, nice to see a variety of different cars out there. I think we've got a Jaguar up towards the front, Alfa Romeo of the Vortex driver just in front of us, and the driver behind us is actually in a Corvette, which seemed certainly over this opening lap to be quite competitive. Maybe a car I shall certainly try at some point over the course of the week. So fast forwarding just a little bit as we come up towards the kind of chicane midway through the lap. There's going to be an instant just up ahead. I'm not sure if that's a punt or a mistake, but it does allow us to make up a position. It does kind of compromise our line, which puts us under pressure from the Corvette behind. I'm going to have to go defensive by the looks of it, as the Corvette gets a better run off the fast right-hander down towards the hairpin. I'm going to have to go slightly defensive here. Corvette taking a look around the outside, you can see it on the radar in the bottom right-hand corner. We successfully defend that move, but the Corvette is going to try and get the cut back. They've got their nose just about in there. We cut their nose off. I kind of decided they've not got anywhere near enough of their car alongside mine to justify that, so it's either back out or make contact. You know, I think if they're only kind of got a sliver of their car in front of you, you are kind of entitled to make that. That certainly seems to be the rules of engagement whenever I watch real motorsport. The Vortex driver in the Alfa Romeo, not quite the same indecision as the last race, does dive into the pits in this one. Can't really blame them. There's a lot of traffic in front of us, a lot of fighting. I really did consider going into the pits myself at that point, but I thought, you know what, let's actually just have a little bit of fun. Let's get some fighting, get some battling, try and make some overtakes. And up in towards turn number 4 here, we're going to pass the TCR driver once again, and that TCR driver, in fairness, living up to the mantra of the team, racing me with respect and fairness, which is nice to see. A couple of cars serving penalties in the penalty zone there, mean we make up a couple of further positions down the straight, which puts us up into P5. We got a little bit deep on the brakes, so we kind of tried to make sure we stay in that position, and the driver we just passed does take a look round the outside of this long right-hander, which never really works out very favourably for the driver on the outside. Moving on to lap 4, we've got P3 and P4 just in front of us, and they're having a little bit of a ding-dong here over the first part of lap 4. And there's going to be a bit of a strange one here. I've kind of watched this one back a couple of times and I still can't quite decide who is to blame. Again, it's hard to tell. I'm not entirely sure if the WRX turns across the 86 or whether the 86 is kind of moving into them. Otherwise, well, for us anyway, not so good for the WRX driver. They go off the track and that pushes up into P4, and as we come through the fast right hander, we're going to get a run on the 86 here. Now I didn't think we'd really be close enough to go for the move. We're just kind of taking a little bit of a look, but then it kind of turned into an overtake. But you can see we easily make the apex there. We kind of made sure that the 86 wasn't alongside us as we went through the exit of the corner, and that was us up into P3. And a little bit later on we catch the Brazilian in the WRX who, I think we've been behind this driver for a couple of laps by this point, starting to feel the pressure. They pick up a half-a-second penalty, and I wasn't really wanting to go for any kind of overtake at this point. Quite happy to use this driver's slipstream. I knew we'd lost a bit of time in the early part of the race with all that fighting, so I was just looking to put in some clean laps here, but the Brazilian does go defensive, and then obviously maybe just looking in his mirror just a little bit too much and goes a little bit deep into turn 1, and at the end of the day it gives us a very simple pass. But I think we were going to pass once they served that penalty anyway. But that was us up into P2, and as we move forward here to lap 10, we made our pit stop on lap 9. We're going to finish this one in P3. Only driver we never passed was the pole position driver, and the other driver that finished ahead of us was the Vortex driver in the Alfa Romeo, who seemed to have incredibly good pace in that car, and finished around about 4 seconds ahead of us. But not a bad job in the Ferrari, quite happy with that one. Decided to sort of tackle the strategy a little bit differently. We probably should have pitted earlier on in the race when that traffic was all fighting, because we did cost ourselves a little bit of time, but we decided to duke it out instead, have a little bit of racing, a little bit of overtaking, and yeah, it's all worked out in the end with another podium. So hopefully you've enjoyed that one. Hopefully you've enjoyed both those races. There are some different cars as well. As I said, most people in the WRX this week, so I thought I wanted to put a video together with some different cars just to sort of give you something a little bit different to look at and listen to. But yeah, if you've liked the video, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm going to leave you with some brief highlights of the kind of more interesting moments in this race from the third person camera, so you can just see what happened. But yeah, thank you very much for watching if you've made it to this point, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.